Alright, so here we have, I think this was a green ash tree, based on the bark, and from what I remember about it. I don't know that it was killed by emerald ash borer. It looks like it actually fell over. But this is a good illustration of basically the anatomy of a tree. So here, of course, this little hole right here is probably what's left of the pith and where it started growing. And you can actually see the rings pretty well, even though this is weathered. So basically you've got one ring, 2 rings, 3 rings, 4 rings. Notice they're pretty wide. And then as we go this way, you can kind of tell, I know there's some cross from the chainsaw that cut it down. Notice the rings get smaller. So it had a pretty good ring this last year when it fell over. So right here, this is often what we quote unquote consider bark. This dark part right here is likely to be the phloem. So that's the secondary phloem. And then out here, this kind of lighter stuff is the phylloderm. But this layer right here that's broken, that is actually where the vascular cambium was. And that's there, so if I look carefully, is when this guy was just starting to start growing, and it basically, it must have broken and fallen over, probably in one of our early spring storms. So this right here is a separation between what we consider wood, which is all xylem, and then quote-unquote bark, which is out here, which includes the phloem. So this phloem layer would be super important to this tree where it's still alive. And then we've got the layers out here. And this breaks and flakes in particular patterns as the tree grows because the vascular cambium is growing out, so is the phloem. But basically this outer layer of tissue is dead, so it's going to break and it's going to flake, and those patterns are one of the ways you can identify trees. Now you may see a lot of acorns on this. This is not an oak tree. There is an oak tree nearby, which is why you should always be careful picking up stuff off the ground to identify your trees. Anyway, I suppose we can count all of these. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, that's kind of a bad year. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So for a tree, this really wasn't especially old. And it's not super large. You can tell it was growing really, really fast when it was young, but it had this funny year in here. Maybe that was the year it was planted. Well, that'd be pretty large for a tree to be planted. Something happened to it here. Now these holes right here were probably done later in life. There was some kind of borer. Probably not emerald ash borer. It might have even been post-mortem, although it doesn't really look like it. But emerald ash borer typically goes underneath the bark. And I haven't seen signs of emerald ash borer on campus yet, but it is unfortunately all over Missouri.